Michael, how are you?
Hey Grant, it's good to see you again. We're back for another episode of Straight Shooters. And what have we got today?
Well, very topical. So, for those watching from overseas, we're based in New Zealand, and our Prime Minister's told us that Auckland's going to level one, which basically means freedom,
Woohoo.
at midnight. So, our topic today, our third video, is can you catch COVID from your barbecue? Big question.
It's a very, very good question, and I've been pondering this for a while because I actually do have two barbecues. The first barbecue I got is because I'm vertically challenged, you see. So I bought a barbecue that was made for someone a bit taller than me, and I actually cut the legs off it to make it shorter for myself, and which is great. But then if you've got friends over who are a bit taller than you, like walkers, it's incredibly low. So I've been given another barbecue by my father, and which is great, portable, and I want to keep that. So trying to get rid of my one that I've cut the legs off is suddenly a little bit more challenging. So yeah, catching COVID-19 on the barbecue is right up there. And then the other thing is, like, I was wondering, we want to be talking about COVID-19, but we've got a good spin on it. It's not so boring.
And I think just to remind our legions of viewers that our channel is based on the premise of two regular blokes, that's us two, chatting over the barbecue, which is a very Kiwi thing to do, and so it's important. We need to know, can we catch COVID from the barbecue? So Mike, you've done extensive research on this.
I absolutely have. Okay, so what I did was a lot of research. As you know, I am the research king. So what I did was I typed into the Google, can you catch COVID-19? And when I got to the from, it said A, from your barbecue. That's what I was going to write. Someone who's recovered. And the third one down was quite interesting. Can you catch COVID-19 from farts? And I do remember a little while ago when COVID-19 first struck, and also Mythbusters did something on this sort of thing as well, as can you catch things from farts? So I found that quite interesting. So yeah, it's we'll have to check out how many search results for that, but it's pretty high. So then after farts is sweats, someone who's asymptomatic from the swimming pool. I find that quite interesting because everyone's going to be a little bit wet. Plus they've got all that chlorine. I remember they did a bit of research on that too. Someone with no symptoms, someone who's had it, blood, and from a recovered person. So yes, we're up there with the can you catch COVID-19 from your barbecue? So I typed that in, quite interesting. And it's mainly about, small gatherings and stuff. The WHO said not so much about barbecues, but maybe about smoking. And then I was thinking, like when you smoke fish or smoke meats, but no, it's smoking cigarettes.
So I have to just clarify for our viewers, can you catch it from farts?
I remember there you go. Here's a bit of a political thing. So I was watching a bit of CNN, and those news channels over in the US, some of they don't always come across as balanced, but they had Dr. Gupta on there, and I think he was talking about the possibility that they were investigating whether you could catch it from farts or not. But the main thing is with us is if it's left on a surface, and as you know, in Auckland, one of our quarantine facilities, someone got it from a lift button, and just recently, I think it was last couple of weeks, someone got it from a rubbish bin lid. It's a trash can for you USA people.
It's a pesky little virus, that's for sure. I think it's also probably, before we get into maybe, shall we call, say, barbecue etiquette and hygiene, just to mention, of course, the leader of the free world, President Trump, caught COVID recently, and there's some mixed messages coming out of that. I'm going to go on a limb here and say he didn't get it from a barbecue.
No, but the gathering that he was at was kind of like a barbecue.
but just without a barbecue.
Yeah, they might have, I don't know if they would have had cooked meats or not there, but they definitely had a lot of, high-ranking politicians and people who are all suddenly coming down with this virus because they weren't wearing masks and social distancing and all that lovely stuff that we get told. So yes, the leader of the free world, Mr. Orange himself, has got the coronavirus.
And look, just to reiterate, so we don't get inundated by comments, we are an apolitical channel.
Yes.
Concerned with the issues at hand, and but it did cause me to think of the impact of the president, who's been a bit of a COVID naysayer, you'd have to say. Certainly not a big supporter of what a lot of people are doing. The results of him getting that. So if he makes a speedy recovery, does that reinforce his view that COVID's a non-starter and therefore we've just got to power ahead? If he succumbs to COVID, and as we saw with Boris Johnson, another world leader, I think it was on about the 7th or 8th day after he contracted it that he really went downhill. And a lot of the commentators, COVID commentators, are saying that day 10 is the critical day. His age, his health status, etc., because offset by the fact that he will have access to the best medical care anywhere in the world. So that kind of balances it. So if he passes or is significantly debilitated, will that change the direction that the US is taking with their response? And I suppose more importantly, how will his supporters respond? What are your thoughts there, Mike?
Well, funny that I'm just going to put on my conspiracy hat. So, a few little things. You know how we like a few conspiracies out there, but someone said to me, "What if he actually hasn't got the virus? He's perfectly healthy, and it was just like a political ploy." You know, so then all of a sudden, boom, he comes out of this, all his medical treatments and miracle things that he's been taking, hydrochloroquine, etc. You know, he comes out, he's healthy as. So that's my conspiracy hat right there. What do you think?
Well, I think it's incumbent on me just to say to our viewers that we are in no way sponsored by 2XU, and probably if you'd had the word conspiracy theory hat on there, might have been better, something we could look into next time. I am going to say, though, I think that's right up there with did we land on the moon or not? I think the number of people that we would need to keep quiet or to play along with us and his popularity, I'm not sure they could pull this one off. And
did you see the news report where he had like about 50 of his doctors all doing their little news briefing, and they were making things extra positive? So was he on oxygen? He's not on oxygen right now. But was he on oxygen yesterday? Well, right now, he's not on oxygen. But has he ever been on oxygen? He breathes oxygen, but he's not on oxygen right now.
Here's an update to that. So today, on the midday news, the doctor came out and said, yes, for 30 minutes he was given oxygen at the White House. And the reason he denied that, or basically told porkies, was that he didn't want to upset people or set a negative narrative. At the end of the day, a porky is a porky is a porky. And he should have said, yeah, he needed oxygen. We gave him 30 minutes worth, and he was able to then walk the helicopter and fly, and then we put him on more along with steroids and risperidone, etc. So I start to get a little bit nervous when they say little kind of untruths, and then they gets a bit bigger.
Yeah, because people then they don't believe the doctors when they do tell the truth.
Well, look, the Don was the one. that I think coined the phrase fake news, and he has been certainly at the forefront of that drive to move it.
And a lot of the previous presidents as well, you know, when they've had illnesses and things, they didn't want to come out with the truth. Who was it that that was in a wheelchair? Was he had polio?
FDR during World War II, he was never. I mean, they had no Facebook and interweb back then, but he was never photographed sitting in a wheelchair or standing or walking, or not standing, but his disability was never portrayed because the country was at war and they wanted to show a strong president who was leading the Allied campaign, so to speak. I kind of get it back then, because these days everyone's got a camera and a cell phone, and so, well, I'm going to say nothing's hidden, but a lot of stuff's made up as well. But I don't want to get bogged down with the Dom. We've touched on that.
Yes.
I do think it comes to a bigger question, which is a bigger question within New Zealand, particularly because of barbecues, is around the levels and the eradication approach versus the, I guess, learn to live with it and manage it approach. And the reason why it's relevant, because that level 4, for example, no barbecues. You are not having
no barbecues.
And I think level 3, no barbecues. No,
but you can barbecue in your bubble.
Yeah, yes, you can, absolutely. But it's not really a convivial barbecue. It's just you in your bubble.
Oh, yeah. Okay. How many people do you think makes a good barbecue bunch?
Oh, look,
and what do you call a group of people at a barbecue? You know, like you have a flock of geese. You know, all those different terms for animals.
I think it's a gaggle of geese.
Gaggle of geese. What is it? A flock of seagulls.
Seagulls. I don't know. I think we're getting a little deep now, and we are being sidetracked. But it is a really good question. What constitutes a Kiwi barbie? As in how many people? Obviously, you can barbecue and food.
Well, I just quickly breaking news. Straight shooters.
Yep.
So you collective nouns for groups of animals. So a cackle of hyenas, a shrewdness of apes. How about that? A shrewdness of apes. That's because they're quite sneaky. A raft of otters, a murder of crows, a scurry of squirrels, a wake of vultures, and a battery of barracudas, and a muster of storks.
Wow. Well, that's certainly.
So for all you people out there in the YouTube world, you know, if you want to make a comment on that, you know, please go ahead, because Grant will be reading those comments.
Yeah.
Don't forget to click like and share and subscribe.
Yeah. And at this stage, there's no giveaways, but I'm sure at some point we will be giving away some barbecue tools.
Or maybe some T-shirts or something. We'll do some T-shirts when we start making lots of money and we get a big budget.
So can you stop evading the issues, Michael?
Oh, sorry. Back to it.
Talking about eradication versus management. Where do you sit on this?
Oh, so I kind of like what we're doing in New Zealand. So we're basically shutting down, make sure the virus is stopped at the border, and then we can all just go about our lives and not have to worry about it. But the downside is, well, here we are, we're an island, a couple of islands, and we're kind of stuck a little bit, you know, waiting for this vaccine, which might not arrive, or it might arrive, you know, a little bit next year. The economy takes a bit of a hit because of tourism. We can't leave the country. We can't really get people in unless they're quarantining. And if we go somewhere else, you know, we're quite vulnerable. So, and for me, it's eradicated. How about you?
Well, yeah, I'm not going to answer just yet because I want to come back to you on that point. I want to push you a bit harder, Michael.
Oh.
You once owned a rather large business. So if your business had to be shut down, how would that affect you with your business? You know, 10 weeks, boom, you shut down for 2.5 weeks or 3 weeks, and then you start up again.
That business itself was actually a chemical repacking company, so it was actually a necessity, and it would have been a high priority company to keep going. So it would have keep functioning. But if I'd had a company that wasn't like that, say it was something that wasn't high priority, like a florist shop or a gym, it would have been tough because we would have had the wage subsidy, so I'd have been trying to support the staff. But when you haven't got people coming in, there's a lot of pressure, and it can shut you down. But on the other side of it, that might make me want to just endure the virus. But what if you give it to people that are vulnerable or older people, and they get crook? I'd hate to have that feeling that I've got somebody else sick. So yeah.
I was a big fan of the first lockdown, eradication. Not a big fan of the second one, because I believe that we will get more cases coming through. I just think it's inevitable. We're allowing people to fly back to New Zealand with the disease.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Despite the best efforts, there are going to be mistakes and things happen. I think one of the things is that before anyone gets on a plane, they must have been negative for 3 days, even those instant tests. And if they're blatantly positive, well, they just don't come. And that would certainly assist. But I am leaning more to the managed side of it, using several things. So I think if everyone just got into the habit of using the COVID tracker, so it's just something they did. I know it's a bit of a pain, but really, click, it's on, it's done. That would be a big thing. I think wearing masks on any public transport, and indeed just in big areas. If it's a mask, for goodness sake, just wear the thing. Asian countries, after the Asian flu, demonstrated that they do it regularly. I know we used to sort of take the mickey out of them and go, what's that all about? Well, clearly they had the last laugh. And I think just really emphasising that personal hygiene, washing your hands several times a day or when you've been out, etc. And I think that, and it's not an if, it's when we get another community case spring up, we look at the area and maybe we kind of really test that area a lot. And as things come up, we kind of track it and trace and move it. But so long as our health system isn't being inundated, then I think we keep going. Maybe we would go to a level 2 because that's still fairly functional, maybe, and maybe only in the area. And then we just learn to manage that. And so long as these community cases just don't go ballistic, then we just keep living with it and we keep dealing with it. And will some people die? Yes, they probably will. But then again, people die from a whole bunch of things. We've been trying to get rid of motor vehicle accidents, I don't know, since people got in cars. And sometimes we have really good years where maybe only 300 people or a couple other people die, and that's a great year. And then you have terrible years. I mean, last year I think was a shocking year with people dying. People drowning. We have so many Kiwis who drown over summer, and yet look at we try and stop that, but we don't. And you don't want anyone to die, but you do need to balance that. And particularly, if we look at our older population, and I'm trying to say this as much love as possible.
I'll just grab my conspiracy hat.
Yeah, I thought you might. But often those older citizens who catch COVID and pass from it, I would say 9 times out of 10, there is some kind of comorbidity that assists with that. And look, every loss is a tragedy, but you've got to balance those things.
Okay, so put my hat on. So what maybe you're coming from a little bit of the angle of, the world is so populated now that it's almost like the planet is trying to purge these humans that are using up all the resources, that are polluting it, that are causing so many problems. So just as we get going with all this crazy technology that we're using and we're inventing stuff, because basically that's all we are, aren't we? Like, you know, what is the purpose of humans? And it seems to be just to invent things, to build more technology, to make more advancements. When you compare how long we've been around for and the huge advancements we've made in technology over the last couple of 100 years. And so maybe the conspiracy is that the planet is, okay, right, you punks, there's too many of you. I'm going to throw in a virus and see if we can weed some of you guys out, just to, you know, help the planet breathe a little bit. What do you think of that?
Oh, well, I'm on record of saying that we could lose 1 billion people and, you know, not even notice it really. I mean, of course, if you're one of the 1 billion people that goes, that's not good. But in terms of, I guess, this isn't the planet. But, you know, I think that might always fit into one of our alien videos.
So I'll just go back to my other hat. So I think your argument basically comes from a point of, you know, you're like a bit of you're in a gilded cage, you know, because we haven't had the huge virus issues that other countries have had with people dying, and we don't really have any family members that have passed away from COVID-19. Whereas, you know, if that had happened, we'd probably you'd have a different perspective on it. So because we're so lucky, maybe that's where you're like, it doesn't matter. It's only a really bad flu. But I did, Dr. John, on his podcast, he did say it's 10 times worse than the flu.
Oh, look, I'm not minimizing the virus. And let's be clear, you're absolutely right. Not only are we in a gilded cage in New Zealand, but certainly my own personal circumstance, we live in the country and we're not really impacted at all. So I totally get that. I'm trying to kind of be above that, more of a helicopter.
And
and
so I was just thinking, this is a very good cop, bad cop relationship we have here.
Yeah, I think at some point we need to revisit this relationship because, again, you know, it's me that keeps putting us back to the barbecue, but it's like, and you come along and decide to turn my sausages over. Well, that's just, you don't do that. You know, even though you might think I'm burning the sausage or the steak.
Can we just stick with make it just a steak analogy? Maybe not sausages.
You don't, well, yeah, fine. But I cook everything on my barbecue. You know, you don't just rock up and, you know, you just don't touch a man's barbecue. And that is, because I had barbecue etiquette on here.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about a little bit of barbecue etiquette. What about tomatoes on a barbecue?
No. No, that's morally wrong.
Eggs?
Eggs is okay. Tomatoes because I hate cooked tomatoes. I like tomato sauce. I like cold tomatoes, like cheese on toast, where you get the toast, bit of cheese, grill that, then fresh tomato slice. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. What about mushrooms?
Mushrooms okay.
On the barbecue? Oh, definitely onions.
Wow, it's kind of obvious, really. But look, again, I've got to bring you back, Mike. You keep changing hats. And I've got to bring you back to this. So we've talked about, so really the way you're going to catch COVID from a barbecue is not from the actual barbecue itself. It's from your mates. They've got a cold one in the hand. They're having a yarn. Maybe they're getting a bit too close within that 1 meter. Put a slap on the back, you know. Maybe sharing that bottle. That's definitely, that could definitely be a barbecue way of catching COVID. So I think we need the barbecue because it's probably a mental health thing. You know, let's face it, blokes, barbecuing, going for fish, you know, how are you? I'm good. How are you? Yeah, good. All right, move on, done. You know, that's the kind of therapy that the barbecue offers. And that's why it's critical.
It's quite powerful, isn't it? You know, there's some powerful messages that you've got there, but yeah, you're exactly right. It's how can you catch it from the barbecue? Not so much off the barbecue, but yeah, it's that whole social etiquette, you know, social distancing, not getting too close, sharing drinking containers, bottles, cups, Then people.
Well, I think just to kind of bring this to its natural,
Conclusion, I think, yeah, it feels like we're getting there.
Well, I think so now the steak is just right, sausages are good, the onion's done, and the same with this question. I think we've answered the question: can you catch COVID from your barbecue? And I think the answer is yes, but indirectly. So I think what the barbecue is it's a COVID enabler if you let it.
Oh, I like that. A COVID enabler. Mm.
Yeah. And so I think it's one of those things. So, for example, the car doesn't kill you. Going fast in the car while inebriated, well, that will help the car kill you. The gun will not kill you unless it's in the hands of an idiot who pulls the trigger and is being a dick. In which case, it's not actually the gun's fault. So the barbecue and the act of BBQing can give you COVID if you're not a safe barbecue.
I hear you. I think this has come to a natural conclusion, and that's 100%.
So I think our valued listeners, I should say listener, viewer out there, I hope this has taken away the fear of barbecuing in this COVID environment, has shown you how to barbecue safely, and indeed encouraged you to open up and talk about your fears, particularly if you're a bloke, over the barbecue.
Cool. I was thinking, wouldn't mind showing one of our YouTube vids. I might get my barbecue out there and show you the alterations I did make to it, and appreciate any comments.
Well, I'm thinking, so we'd like to have questions come from our ardent follower, hopefully we followers soon, who ask the questions around, how can we modify our barbecue, particularly if we are in a mobile, vertically challenged position, and clearly you're in a position to, we could run a session on that, like sort of a how-to, all you needed to know. Dare we call it an AMA? Ask me anything. But we've answered the question. So I'm going to bring this to a close. Mike, I think you've really shone a light on a lot of things. I think you've brought the potential conspiracies to light.
I've got my conspiracy hat anytime.
I would like you to have the word conspiracy put on that next time, just so it's a bit.
Oh, and hey, by the way, 2XU, if you do want to sponsor us, hit us up. We'd love for you to sponsor us.
Yeah, well, that was pretty subtle. That'll work. Absolutely. So on that note, Michael, I'm going to leave you. It's a bright sunny day. I'm looking out the window. It is a great day for a spring barbecue. And with level 1 coming in about 2 days and 58 minutes, we will be free to barbecue as we wish.
Great. Good to see you, Granny. And don't forget to like and subscribe and to share and post your comments.
Yeah.
See you out there.
Post the comments because I will answer them.